And we're recording.
Okay, so we'll bring this meeting to order, March 9th meeting to order for the Toxics Board at, well, my time is 3:35. So we'll go around with introductions. I'm Andre Phelps. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board who will be running the meeting today because Evan is coming in through Skype or whatever it's called. Go ahead.
James Lenhart, Program Manager.
I'm Mark Kruger, Industry Representative.
Crystal Abrams, Citizen Advocate.
Don Egan, Industry.
Nicole Patterson, Environmental Citizen Advocate. I don't know which. But
Great. Okay, so did everyone get a chance to look at the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Any changes or comments? Okay.
I move to approve the agenda.
We have our first.
A second.
Well done. Seconds. All in favor of approving the agenda as is?
Aye.
I
Unanimous.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Evan, thank you. Okay, so the agenda is approved. Public comment, does not look like we have any public comment today, so we'll just move on to the staff report.
Okay,
Thanks.
staff report. Got a few things. We'll start with the rating system. I finally heard back from ISD, our IT department, about what they estimated to be able to make an adjustment to the system. It would run about $4,000, all be told, for them to program that in. So we'll talk more about that later within the budget and fee discussion. But it is doable. It'll just take a little bit of time. Within that also is when it fits in with the schedule. That has not been talked about. That's just the budget on how much it'll cost us. Along with that, the reason I wanted to bring that up too is that it is official. The fire department is getting a brand new database. They've been in the process of the acquisition process. It is now officially happening. The desire is to shift everything into this new fully functional, fully supported system, and hopefully leave behind the older antiquated systems that were homegrown, such as the toxic reporting system. That is the desire for the department and for the city. Part of that is ISD's push to not have...
Evan, you want to mute?
Sorry, I'll go.
Okay. I thought he was coughing.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I know.
Part of that is the ISD's overall push to eliminate older programs that are labor intensive to support and maintain. So this new system, it is able to do what we do. It has to be built in, and that's a whole nother conversation within fire, moving all those together. So I wanted to bring that up because that will be ongoing conversations I know that we'll be having. Also, it's just a broader conversation that you need to be aware of.
Can you clarify just a little bit? So there's a new system that the fire department's going to implement for their reporting?
So it's covering everything at this juncture, any normal fire incident, inspections, permits, hazmat. It would also then incorporate, the desire would be that it would also incorporate things like the toxics program, because then all the information would interconnect and interrelate.
Mm-hmm.
So would the current toxics inventory report be updated?
So then,
part of this?
part of the larger conversation has to happen is what are the exact capabilities? How will it all work together? All the data will be preserved and the idea would be brought over. It would obviously look different. Interface would be different, and I don't know exactly what every element of that looks like yet. I don't know if at this juncture it's something of that the businesses would submit the information to me. I would then provide that to the vendor that they would upload it all in one go, or how exactly that process would look. That still has to be determined. But any way it's done, it is definitely doable. It also, with this new system, one of our analysts on staff actually is fully able to customize and alter reports and the like, so it actually gives us more flexibility to make alterations in the future compared to right now, where it costs us substantial to have to, and time to be able to do that. So,
Timeline?
the system will be in place as of, we will be using it in the fire department as of July 1.
Not necessarily for us, though.
Not necessarily for us.
Okay,
We're like phase 2.
right.
Because we're non-essential. So right now it's that they have to move off of their old system onto the new one by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
And around that time is when I'll be able to have more conversations with our person who's in charge of that, because he's developing the training plans and everything for everybody in the fire department. So right now, a little buried.
Do you have any idea of who's bearing the cost for that, for the toxics board?
As far as it's all wrapped in together at this point. So at this juncture, there hasn't been talk of what the actual fee to the toxics program would be, but that because it's kind of like right now we use a software called Firehouse, and that's for tracking lots of different details. And technically, we can put information from the toxics program in it, but there's not really anywhere for it. It just goes into a generic notes field, which isn't helpful for anybody, because it just clutters up the information. This will actually be custom spots for all of our information, which also then again helps relate over to like hazmat, where currently our systems don't talk together, and it just gives a more synergistic relationship. So that's the desire. There's obviously more that has to happen with that. After that, I have board recruitment. So currently, the city has been recruiting for the different boards and committees. I got a report on Friday. Nobody has applied for the toxics board, so we have no current applicants. So at this point, I'll probably tell them, well, we have to keep it open because we still have to recruit because we're gonna have some vacancies. Primarily Andre and Mark are both rolling off the board. So we did talk about previously, you wanted to talk about the application questions. That's later on the agenda, so that if at this point, since no other applications have come in, we can make some alterations to those questions if they are desired. And I can provide that to the city manager's office. But I will be reaching out to businesses again to see if I can shake anybody loose as far as the industry side. And then the other question is that neutral role, which is the...
You did have one communication from the business.
Yes. And he's sitting out there.
Oh.
I asked him to procrastinate a little bit till we had this discussion of the questions.
Okay.
So, and that is my current staff updates.
Great. Any questions? Comments? No? Okay, so, we've been having troubles with some of our meetings. I'm guilty of this, so I guess we need a discussion about how we want to improve attendance. Do we want to set up a time? I mean, just open it to discussion, some thoughts on how we can do this. So.
One of the things that was put out was a specific day. I am all for that. It's just easier to plan around that way.
Yeah.
And because I have so many trainings and audits and everything else I do as they come up, if I have that set on a specific day every month or whenever it's going to be, helps immensely.
I would agree with that. Anyone else have?
I agree.
Any thoughts, Evan?
Oh, no, I think that's also a good idea.
Okay.
It does seem like Mondays sort of work for everyone.
Works real well for me.
Yeah.
I prefer Mondays.
So just which one does?
Yeah. Does it mean every month? Mean every other month?
Do we need every month? I'm kind of concerned in the long run because of the losses,
Yeah,
and then a year after that, I'm gone. And we just have nobody coming in. I'm not sure when you're leaving.
I think I'm up this summer, this July, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
You
you're gonna
have
be
the
kind of
option to go for a
lonely.
second term.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Uh-oh. Evan, when are you done?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think he's 2021.
Yeah, I think we both have a couple years.
so we could set it up for every month and then cancel if we don't have enough on the agenda.
That,
That
Yeah.
works, yeah.
What
That
do you
works.
think?
That works. Like a standing meeting.
Yes, like
Yeah.
a standing meeting.
Mhm.
And then the chair, vice chair can decide if, with enough advance notice if we're gonna have it or not.
Mm-hmm.
That would work really easy. That way I can also make sure we always have a reserved
Yeah.
locations. That's one thing that we've ran into. Sometimes it's,
Yeah.
I can't find a spot until we have a date. And then sometimes
Mhm.
things get booked up really fast, so.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
would you like to do it like on first Monday, second Monday? Do it that way?
I would recommend avoiding like first Monday
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
last, because you're avoiding holidays.
Right.
True, yeah.
So
Second?
something like second.
Second Monday sounds good.
Yeah,
Last Monday, you start getting closer to,
Mhm.
a lot of reports are due on the first, at which point that last little bit starts getting a little hairy.
Mhm.
Is Easter Monday a thing? I see it in the calendar, okay.
No, that would be Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's a Sunday thing.
Okay, second Mondays from here on through summer work for me. Yeah. I support second Monday meetings.
I move to make second Monday meetings. I move to vote on second Monday meeting.
I don't know if we have to vote on it.
Okay, all right.
No.
I think we can just decide
Okay.
and.
I can't do October 12th, but that's the only Monday this year I can't do.
That's probably fine.
And obviously this conversation will come up again probably even
Yeah.
after June,
Yeah.
when we have some new board members.
yeah.
So if that's the case, and everybody, there's
Second
no one
Monday.
who disagrees, that puts us at April 13. And
Oh.
May 11. I'll just put it through June, how about that?
Yeah.
Let's see where we go. And then June 8. Which might be a hard date for me, but I might have to change that one if you need me. That would be June is my last month. Yeah,
Yeah.
my daughter's graduating the next day and I have
Oh.
a lot of people in town, so maybe.
We might wanna see how it goes, just having a standing meeting.
Yeah. Let's just set those three, April 13, May 11, June 8. Okay. And then, I know it's extra work for you, James, but do you mind like the morning of just saying meeting today?
No problem.
Doesn't have to have anything in it, just in the subject.
Mm-hmm.
For day of or day before?
Well,
I'd
since
say
it's a
day of.
Friday.
Since it's
Yeah.
a Monday, the day of would be great. Is
Mhm.
that okay with everybody?
Totally.
Agreed. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Okay. Any other comments, thoughts about that?
No, thank you.
That's why I keep looking at that clock, but it's not working.
Yeah. No.
So. All right, so the next agenda item is to discuss and vote on hopefully the fiscal year 21 budget, fee and work plan information.
Okay, so this is both of your packets. So in terms of the budget, our last meeting, it was requested that a second option be created. And that would be adding in what it would cost to create the modifications that were discussed with the reporting system. So option 2 has that $4,000 added in for each staffing level. In our previous discussion, we talked about basically most likely going with option 1 at the 90% staffing, which put the fee, the per FTE fee at $52.37, up to the $2,000 max, with the $4,000 added in at again that 90% staffing level, raises that fee by just under $4 to $56.13. Either way, this is a reduction over the last several years of fees. For FY 18, 20, all of those, the fee was over $60 per FTE.
So just to clarify, this increases the general expenses, doesn't come out of any of the other line items, right? The 4,000?
The 4,000 is the other expenses, the last line on there, correct?
Yeah, but I'm just clarifying that it doesn't come out of anything. It looks like it's just an additional line item.
Correct.
Okay. So how is that funded?
What do you mean, how is that?
Where does that money come from?
The 4,000?
Yeah. It's just, this is just a
Part of
bucket we're
fees.
trying to get.
It comes out of the FTE.
I mean, it's out of just the standard income
Okay.
from fees assessed.
All right, I just wanted to understand where.
Okay, yeah.
So then, just to make sure, so this discussion about a new reporting system being implemented,
Mhm.
would this be doing something that would then carry through into that, or is
And that was something I checked on, is
Okay,
that
great.
being that there is, in the process of how we operate now, and if there's added functionality, right now there's not currently a external access portal. That's one of the desires that they want to have. This can help push that up in the development cycle if we do that, because we can be throwing money towards that. It's not a bad thing to have the money in there, but it's not like we would be having, it's a weird situation.
okay, I'm gonna need a little bit more
Yeah,
clarification.
I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. So, if we put the money aside and we make the transition over to the new system, it isn't like the money just went away and it's not useful. We can basically at that point say, well, what other use do we want for it towards the system? And we can shove that in that direction. If the other option would be is to delay budgeting in that amount of money to a later date, but that pushes us out a year also for budgeting in any other modifications.
It's gonna take a while before the modifications ever take place anyway.
It would be at the earliest that I was being told would be most likely be the fall, if not going towards the winter.
But if it's there,
That's still within the fiscal year.
But it would be made to our existing system.
That's it. Or we could push that money over to development into the new system
That new
also.
system.
So it's not tied to the
We could
system,
make-
it's,
Tied to, okay, because we can make that decision once we get more information,
yes.
okay?
When the new system comes in and the back end needs to be upgraded, would that be another line item? We'll be looking at sort of 4,000 for doing the rating system, and then at some point in the future, or in addition at some point, we'll have to put in money for movement to the new database.
We don't have to put in money for movement to the new database.
Okay.
That's all included in. That's part of the budgeted transition already for fire in general. Any funds that we put aside for a special project can be put towards a special project that the board would decide to add functionality or modifications.
seeing as I'm the one who's been trying to sort of champion this rating system, and seeing as it, the $4,000 with all of James' work to increase the number of people paying in has dropped the FTE to the point where the increase is less than last year's. I'm happy with the $4,000 line item.
Yeah, that's
Option
great.
2.
Let's do it.
And
At 90%, is that the
Mhm.
plan? So it's a slight increase from last year, do you think that?
It's-
will make a
it's-
A
difference?
decrease.
It's a decrease.
Oh, it's a decrease.
Last year was 62.25 per FTE.
Oh, great,
So we've seen a significant savings.
okay, wonderful. Oh, I see.
Is that
Sorry,
primarily
I'm
due to the
interrupting.
addition of the other industries?
That's adding the other businesses in that
Okay.
we've identified over the year, and there's still more on the docket that are gonna be coming in this
Great.
year. I'm had full contact with every business that I've reached out to.
Cool.
And then it's also including some different closures that we've had this year of some businesses that are in the program or that are closing soon.
And James is also a little less expensive than Joe.
Right.
Cool. Evan, do you have thoughts?
Oh, no, I like it, yeah, of the 2% staffing. So, yeah. I have nothing to add to that.
90% will allow you to do what you need to do, correct?
It maintains staffing at what we've had. It allows me to do what I've been doing. I did, Andre, you had asked last time of if the board felt the need of looking at reducing to 85% on staffing. I looked at what my recommendation of areas to remove, to make that room, and I did that as requested. And the main areas that I foresaw, if you go to the appendix within the work plan, that's the kind of traditional program task matrix that has been used in the past. And so, first page of the appendix it's page 7. You'll see the 5th item down. It's provide orientation to new board members, manufacturing businesses, and the like. I felt that because of a lot of my time this year has been outreach to new businesses, there would be less of that this next year. I felt I could remove a percentage point from there. That still maintains over 40 hours of that time over the course of the year. Another area was conducting public ed and outreach efforts, so 2 lines below that, reducing that down to 8%. That's still preserving over 166 hours per year. And so that's 2%. And then if you go to page 9, the first item, which is facilitate the process to assist the toxics board to provide forms for hazardous material balance reports and the like. That one, reducing that a percentage point, again, at 8%, keeps it at over 166 hours over the course of the year. And the last one is to conduct an inventory of processes to identify covered entities and also do program improvement. That was actually dropped that down to 11%, dropped by 2 percentage points. Because where it's good to do, it is not, that's an area that could probably shave some time if needed. So those were the areas I felt would have the least amount of impact, or I could juggle it a little differently if necessary. As I prepared the comparisons, I did notice that between the options, dropping that 85% to the 85% did show about a $5 to $6 per FTE savings. So it's a little interesting because it's not a straight line. It varies because it depends on business sizes.
Have you found that the industries that are currently in the system, are most of them peaked at the $2,000 limit? Or is there 70% of them?
It depends on how high that fee is. So this year we're seeing more that are below the cap
Really?
because by what the fees are going to be, because it has dropped the dollar figure
Okay.
enough that we're seeing some drop below there, whereas last year more of them hit the cap because just the amount per FTE was higher. What I've been seeing this year as I looked over the budget is that not a lot of a change, so
Okay.
it's relatively even split between those that have hit the cap and then those that haven't. And there's a lot, and the ones that normally hit the cap have way over. Because a lot of the businesses are around the 10 to 15 range, and then they jump up to like 30 plus, and that sends them over the limit, well over the limit.
So it seems like there's sort of two discussions. One is between the 85%, 90% staffing level, and then the one is about including or not including the line item for the ISD for the use material reporting. So, opening it up to discussion.
I'm comfortable with adding the $4,000 in.
And option 2?
Yeah, I
Is
agree.
anybody uncomfortable with that?
Not me.
No,
No.
because it's still a reduction.
Evan?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay. And what about the 85 versus 90% staffing issue?
I don't really have an opinion.
I don't see need to change it.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable at 85? I guess this would be my question.
I would have to go back to the fire marshal on that and have the discussion of the fire department picking up another 5%.
But they would be comfortable with 90?
They have said her preference is 90.
I'm okay with 90.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, yeah.
Any thoughts, Evan?
Oh, no, I think 90 has been the normal, staffing level for as long as I can remember. Unless there's a strong reason for reducing the staffing level, then I would prefer the 90%.
Would anyone like to put forward a motion?
I move that we approve the fiscal year 21 estimate at 90% staffing with the $4,000 for the hazardous, or for the rating system addition.
I second that.
So
Option 2.
Option 2 at 90%.
Yeah.
So, let's vote on, yays for approving the 2021 budget at 90% staffing with the addition of the $4,000 ISD line item, which brings the cost per FTE to $56.13. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any in opposition? No, so unanimous. That's approved unanimously. Great.
Are there any concerns as far as the work plan itself?
Yes, we have to talk about the work plan, that's right. So we have gone through this work plan.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
did
Yep.
last time.
So we'll need to approve the work plan also. And it looks like it is written to show a 90% staffing,
Mhm.
but not maybe the addition of the $4,000.
It's, since that's just a budgetary item, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to show up
Doesn't
in
have
the,
to show in
in
here.
the work plan.
But we might want it to, because it's showing sort of our goals.
Mhm.
Okay.
Our goals, which, this is one of those primary, does it fall under compliance and auditing, or?
Traditionally, that's been in the annual report, the board report, the annual board report, but something like that, I haven't seen that in one of the work plans. Not saying that, in other departments, I've seen stuff like that in the work plans,
Yeah.
but not here. I'm more than comfortable adding that in.
Might be a sub-point, or it might be folded into education, outreach, and PR, maintain content on the Toxics Board and Toxic Program web pages,
Yeah.
because this would be a modification of the web page, yes.
I mean,
Mhm.
I would like to call out specifically as something, just especially as there's gonna be, rollover of the board, so that it's sort of identified, because it's only identified as other expense on here.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is something that we've been trying to push in
Right.
the past.
For quite some time.
It can even be a small paragraph in the introduction if you'd like, or we can put it, or give it a little statement, yeah, in one of the,
Would it be enough to just include, instead of it saying other expense, like, at least say what it's for?
the reason why it says other expense, because that's literally the budgetary line in
Mhm.
the budgetary system for the city, so that's what I have to use in correlating in between.
They don't.
Otherwise, they don't know what I'm talking about. It's weird.
Well, is there a way we can reference that to either the work plan or
Right.
the task matrix? One of the two.
So, I mean, I can add a statement in the work plan. There is the note at the bottom of the budget saying that it covers costs for modifying reporting database for one-time project. That could also
Oh,
be.
got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that, so,
That doesn't actually explain what it's for.
yeah.
That is very open-ended,
Yes.
yeah.
Page 3, again, that education, outreach, and PR, make it a separate, like, item 5, or something like that, maybe.
Sure. What would you like it to say? If we craft what we want it to say, then we can vote and approve this today.
Okay.
Mhm.
We want to modify the existing system with a rating system for, this is for the hazardous quality of the chemicals.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean,
Can you repeat that, please?
yeah, so my understanding, because let's make sure, because we talked about a lot of things
Mhm.
in the past. So this is for modifying the hazard system based on how hazardous the chemicals are, according to, it wasn't OSHA standards, what was the standard?
HMIS was
Yeah.
convenient.
Mhm.
So we'd be modifying the Toxics Program webpage
Right,
to include a rating system. for
1 to
instance,
4, right?
And then, that, yeah, I should probably write that down so it's important.
Yeah, because we brainstormed a lot of different things. I remember advocating for this to go on the website. I don't know if that's part of this,
The idea though goes into
or goes into
the
reporting. or-
reporting system
Okay.
itself. So
Okay.
when people look up, the
Right.
idea is when they look up the report, they'd be able to see what the.
Right, so it's for both, right? So is that what you're saying?
Well,
It's for
it-
industry and for the public?
So, yeah, no, yeah, because it's just attached to
Great.
the CAS.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I-
everybody would be able, that is that
Perfect.
everybody would be able to see it.
That's perfect, yeah. That's what we were talking about when we first came up with this.
Did we write some text about this at some point?
I think we did. There was some idea that we discussed writing it. I don't know if we did it. I think we did.
I mean, because this could just be sort of broad, it doesn't have to be specific, so
Right.
it doesn't sit us, but it would be the idea of, allowing the public and industry to, I mean, it's really to improve what understanding of the data, right?
Interpretation.
Being able to better interpret it, by what, there's just as, for each compound, it's
Mhm.
associated, hazardous waste information, right?
Mhm.
That's sort of what our idea is.
Right, and there was also some qualitative element to it, to my recollection, like, it's not just 1 through 4, it's also like flammability, or, different, a number of qualitative measurements of like, what kind of care, et cetera,
Mhm.
so that people could better understand the.
Let's see, add a rating system to the toxic program website in
Mhm.
fiscal year 2020 to improve hazard interpretation.
Yeah,
Does that make
for, well, you might wanna add just like for the public and for industry, cause this is kind of an idea, when we, came up with this, I think this was sort of one of those perfect compromises where it benefits both sides.
So, add a rating system to the toxic program website in fiscal year 2020 to improve public and industry hazard interpretation.
Sounds great.
How about it, just something that doesn't sound like we're making up a rating system?
Oh.
It's an existing.
Right.
Based on HMIS to.
Mhm.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
either that, or either calling it out, or we could just say an existing hazardous waste.
Yeah, keep it
rating
open in case
system.
we decide to change it.
And it's FY21,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I put in the year just so that we have a reference to,
which that's for, but right now, we're technically in the
21.
city's FY20 right now.
okay. So add a rating system. What I originally, before I lined it, was based on HMIS to the toxic program website. I don't think there are any other candidates that immediately present themselves for this sort of.
I think we did agree that that's what was the best,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but we could say,
Standard, no
yeah,
standard.
a standard similar, a standard such as HMIS.
Yeah, maybe say such as, just in case we change our
Sorry
minds.
about the legal,
I always like for him to change my mind.
Okay, add a rating
Yes,
system
me too.
such as HMIS to the toxic program website in FY21 to improve public and industry hazard interpretation. So that would be item 5. I'll have to change this from my chicken scrawl to something you can read at some point.
I'll get it, I can get it from you afterwards if that's what you guys want.
Any thoughts on that? Anybody, Evan, do you have thoughts on what Mark just read?
No, the direction of the conversation sounds good to me. I have to look at, the document, see a little more clarity on it, but I like the idea.
You're breaking up a little bit. Did you say that do you not have these documents in front of you?
No, I do.
Okay. So what are you needing clarity on?
Oh, sorry, can you tell me where the language is?
Oh,
You might have
yeah.
to read it out loud again.
I-
Just
Yeah,
read it a little
Mark just
louder.
wrote it.
Yeah, I was drafting it as, and editing it as we were discussing it. So the way it currently reads is, so this would be item 5 on page 3, Education Outreach PR. Item 5, add a rating system such as HMIS to the Toxics Program website in FY21 to improve public and industry hazard interpretation.
That sounds good to me.
Is interpretation the right word? It does.
Understanding, maybe.
Understanding seems better. Interpreting is like, okay, go ahead, you figure out what that means.
Yeah, okay,
I can see.
understanding.
Yeah.
Great.
Changed.
And where is that going?
Item 5 on page 3.
Okay, got it.
Any other thoughts on the work plan?
There you go.
Got it. It's the same as we discussed last week, right?
Mhm.
No.
Would anyone like to put forward a motion for approving the work plan.
I motion to approve the work plan with the addition of a line, or a fifth element to page 3, which is, as Mark suggested,
A second.
yeah, thank you. I'm not gonna try and repeat that off the top of my head. I could try.
Maybe we could have, well, I think we should probably have it read.
Mark, could you read that?
Okay,
Could you actually bring the motion if you would like to bring the motion, or?
Yeah.
I would like, I would move to add a fifth item to the education outreach and PR section. The fifth item would be add a rating system such as HMIS to the Toxics Program website in FY21 to improve public and industry hazard understanding.
Perfect.
I like it.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the work plan as written with an addition of item 5 on page 3, as Mark has read about the rating system being approved. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Okay, we have a unanimous approval of the work plan with the one addition. So the fee itself also needs to be approved.
When you voted on,
I used
If-
that language when I said that, well, I'm pretty sure I used that language.
yeah. To be safe,
Okay.
it'd be worth,
Okay, since we've approved, we might, I'm not exactly clear if we did this already, but just to be clear, the cost per FTE, we should vote on that also. Even though it is stated with the 90% staffing with, on option 2. And I do believe we included that, but if someone could just clarify that for us, we can bring that to a vote. That makes sense.
Thank you.
Are you suggesting that we make a motion to approve 5613?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve for 2021, the budget of 5613 per FTE.
That'll be the fee.
The fee, yeah.
A second.
Okay. All in favor of approving a FTE fee of $56.13 for fiscal year 2021, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Okay, we have a unanimous approval of the fee. Okay, so next, we're doing good on time, so we have the board member application questions. Specifically, this was brought forward by me, because when I applied for the neutral position, it was very confusing. The questions didn't really seem clear, so.
it's still confusing.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then,
Being
let's.
that both 5 and 6 say right to know advocates only.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think the reason why it's a little confusing
Yeah.
is technically by the charter, we talk about it saying it's like an environmental advocate or an industry advocate. It talks about that the person shows history of advocating for right to know.
Right to know.
So that's what the actual,
I see.
it's supposed to be what the person shows past history of,
That's
which
odd. Yeah.
is odd,
Right.
but that's
That's what
I think that's why it's written that way.
That's in the charter, okay. Okay,
So I believe everybody was given the list of 6 questions
Mhm.
that are currently utilized for applications for the board.
Was that in the packet here, or was that?
Yeah, it should have been the last page of the packet, is it?
I'm just looking. Oh, no.
I think it'll be back. I can pull it up separately.
So, can you refresh my memory? Is it the same questions? These are the questions for whom? Is
It
this
is
for everybody?
anybody that selects the toxics board, those questions come up.
Okay.
So it doesn't, it doesn't alternate between
So
roles.
can we alter number 5, or because it's in the charter, it's not?
Technically, we can fully dictate, the board can dictate any of the questions.
Okay.
There's nothing in there, what they're trying to get at for the city
Right.
council to look at is, do they meet the criteria of the charter? Which also one of the areas where it's actually a little more flexible is technically the charter states that for an industry advocate, it's somebody who is an employee of or a representative of.
But we don't ask that question specifically on here? Yes.
Those are the only questions that are
Okay.
asked.
So we should have just a few questions for each category, right? And it looks like there are only specific questions for right to know advocates. Correct?
That is, yeah, that is all that have been placed up there at this time.
Okay. Is everybody on board with what we're looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It seems like number 2 has more applicable, I mean, of course, it applies to all of the board members, but it seems like it would be most useful to have this be for a neutral position, right?
No, I think
No.
these are all good questions. I think, I mean, you have to have a few questions. It's not too many questions. It's just, I guess the point is when I went to go do the, it just was really unclear for the
Yeah.
neutral position because I just didn't know. I wasn't having to answer these advocate questions or anything related. I didn't have to say anything about how I felt this role could be filled by me, right?
Right. So would it help to have a specific question for neutral?
I think so. And then I think we need to ask these charter required questions for business, right?
I think it'd be
In
wise.
the past, I think we did have people apply that were not reporting.
Yes.
And we have people
So-
apply that have none of the experience, but it's hard to
Yes.
tell.
Yes.
Until you ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't wanna make this super complicated, but I think for sure for business, for industries, it has to be a question about what's the charter language?
If you're employed by or a representative of a business reporting within the Toxics Right to Know program. Or that is required to report.
Would anyone's see other questions that would be, I mean, that just seems like it should definitely be on here. Anyone else have other questions for industry you would like to ask?
A lot of the industry people, no, at least me, the implementation of public policy and regulation, that's all I got here.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's really necessary
Because
yeah, is it?
I've had no
required?
civic involvement, and this is the furthest I've jumped in.
Yeah.
And
I thought
so,
that question was very difficult to answer.
yeah, it's like, none.
And
And I think that's gonna happen in a lot of cases.
Right.
Do you suggest we remove it, or?
I would suggest to remove it.
What if it was something like, more like starts with a yes, no? Do you have any
Mhm.
experience with?
Yeah.
And then if
Then
so,
please,
If you
if
have
so,
that
please
experience,
explain,
please
please
indicate kind of
describe.
thing.
Because I think that's one like they just like to have, saying, do you have experience with these types of things?
Okay.
The city council likes to see that.
Then
that's my
so,
understanding.
I suspect it's in there because we are not uniquely constrained, but we are constrained in very odd ways,
Yeah.
right? Because we're charter mandated, and the charter is this essentially, for all practical purposes, an immovable object.
Yeah.
And so, at least I know when I first came in here, let's do, oh, we can't do that. Let's do, oh, we can't do that. And I'm sure you've probably run into it just as easily as I have. And I suspect that's why 3's there, but is it worthwhile? And the answer is probably no.
We could incorporate it into one of the other questions.
Well, I could see some value in it if it maybe was expanded a little bit. Because it would be good to know if people have sat on boards, other boards, or kind of their past involvement in any kind of,
Something
Well,
similar.
for example, like, we could incorporate it into number 4 and say, why did you apply for the Toxics Board? What do you hope to contribute, and do you have any experience with public policy and regulations? Because it's kind of, those two questions are getting at the same thing, but it could just be expand, like, well, why did you apply for this one specifically, and what's your experience? Kind of make one question. And then it also shortens it, which, I don't know, it seems like if we don't have any applicants, we probably don't want to make it more complicated to apply.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like both those ideas. I think just making number 3 a yes or no question, if so, please describe, or just combining it with 4 are both really good options. So I don't feel strongly in favor of either one. What do y'all think?
Either way from me.
I had a couple of comments about the question. Just specifically the 3 and 6.
3
It seems also sort of more focused on policy components that could be distracting people
You're
who
breaking
haven't.
Evan, we're having a hard time hearing you. I don't,
Is there a chat box that you can type into?
do you,
Someone's-
are you, you're on you're not on a speakerphone or anything?
I have a speakerphone.
Oh. Can you try and say that again? You might sound better now.
Okay. My main concern was that with question 3 and 6, they're worded in such a way that might make people feel uncomfortable who haven't participated in city government
Yeah.
or the processes of dealing with chemicals. And unless it's a position that requires detailed chemical understanding, which I don't think the citizen advocate does, we might want to shift the emphasis to an awareness of chemical impacts in the community or history of community organizing or some kind of thing that people who don't have access to positions of power might feel a little more comfortable applying.
Yeah.
But I like Nicole's points about integrating question 3 and 4 together, and I don't feel real strongly about any of it.
I agree that I think to ask only the right to know advocates what kind of background they have with chemical substances is a little bit daunting, maybe. Did you feel that way, either of you? You did not?
No.
No, you
I
did
just
not.
described my experience, my knowledge, and yeah, I think that it could just be, I think that could probably be merged with number 5 even.
Yeah, but you have a pretty unusual research background too, so.
I'm
Yeah.
just an unusual applicant.
No, I mean in a good way. You
Yeah,
have, You
yeah.
have a lot
Well,
more than average.
Yeah.
I think 6 could actually be applied to everyone, just to find out how much background they have.
Yeah.
If you're,
Or-
Yes.
Forest has a large number of different chemicals
Yeah.
on site, but if you're, actually, we've had folks here, all they had were cleaners, sufficiently large amounts of cleaners that they had to report, but they had only one process that required them to be here
Mhm.
or allowed them to be here, so their experience might have been very limited in that regards.
Right.
So I'm gonna suggest that one, I agree that one, but we could say, do you have familiarity, instead of saying, please describe your career,
Right.
do you have familiar, and that could be one post to everybody.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit, this combining 3 and 4, I'm still thinking that we could broaden it, again, in the same thought that we just brought in 6, saying something like, do you have experience in the formation or implementation of public policy, regulation, community organizing, sitting on a board, anything, so that it kind of opens it up, so
I
that
see.
people can just put in there, so we can learn something more about the person, and if they do have any community,
Or at the end of the question, put it, please explain.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds great.
that sounds great.
Nice and broad.
Any other additions to that? I mean, I just kind of do think it would be nice to hear if people, industry, especially the neutral position, kind of where their background is.
Yeah, so what do you think as the neutral position, what do you think
Yeah.
would be a good question for people? That I have no idea.
So the biggest thing about the neutral position I didn't know is that, you know, I end up being chair or vice chair a lot, just because of the way it's set up.
Right.
So someone who has experience, not necessarily doing that, but at least be, that's why I was thinking this number 3 is really important. So, and then the other thing about neutral is also this working with people with you know, well, I don't know, what do you all think? That's why I'm having I feel like there should be a specific question that kind of helps.
Are you comfortable facilitating meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Or learning how to.
That one may be worthwhile not even just be just neutral. So in fact,
Yeah.
this is sooner or later, everybody's
Uh-huh.
going to chair if you stay on for full terms.
Right.
Maybe.
Thought that I had for neutral was, what is your understanding of a neutral position? Because
Yeah, I
what does
mean,
neutrality actually mean?
Do we actually have to have specific questions? That's something we haven't talked about. Why don't we just
There's no
have them
requirement.
all?
I like that idea
Yeah.
too.
Good idea.
I like that because, okay, so what if we look at it this way? So we do absolutely have to include this question about are you employed or represent, you know, is that okay to have anybody answer that? I say yes, right? Because you could just say yes or no. Sorry for my chicken scratching.
That's
I kind of think we decided about number 6 being open up to everyone with some change, like do you have familiar with chemical substances and processes used in manufacturing? Go ahead.
One question. So, one of the things that I've noticed as I've interacted with businesses that especially haven't been in the program, the word that has tripped up more people more often than not is the manufacturing word. Because most people, when they think of manufacturing, they think of large scale.
Industry, right.
In big industrial thing. Whereas, again, the example I like to use is the small bakery technically is manufacturing by our definition. Because it's within that SIC code range. So the word is correct, but does it potentially confuse people because we're using that word? Is there a different word that can be used or a different way to voice it that might make it less confusing?
Crafting.
You could say large or small process manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
you
yeah,
go.
that's good.
Yeah, but let's just say creating products, because manufacturing, I definitely agree, has that sort of industrial connotation to it, right? You're creating a physical object that
For sale.
versus a loaf of bread, right?
For sale.
So like in manufacturing or product production, something like that. But, yeah, I don't know. Or, yeah,
That's
well, product production is kind of redundant.
Product creation,
Yeah.
throwing out enough stuff, hopefully something will stick.
Product creation sounds pretty good.
Because that
It's
way,
pretty neutral.
our product is
Yeah.
a bottle of beer, right? Okay,
Mhm.
as opposed to we're
Or a loaf of
manufacturing
bread.
beer, which
Right.
most people wouldn't think of it as manufacturing.
Yeah,
We're brewing, but we're
but
not
I think,
manufacturing.
but I think product creation, that's large or small scale, which is what we're trying to get at.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with the term manufacturing. And it doesn't sound too bad to me. And I'm a citizen advocate.
When I came in, I thought of manufacturing
Yeah.
and not the little beer places.
So what about just changing it to describe or do you have familiarity with chemical substances and processes used in product creation? Or used in large or small scale product creation? Because we can get rid of manufacturing and not,
It's more pertinent doing it that way, yeah.
yeah.
I think that's gonna confuse people, but maybe I'm the weird applicant. Cause then it's like product creation, what,
Okay, production,
production?
large or small scale production.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Production. Larger,
So you're
small scale
producing something for
production.
sale.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
So it was, do you have familiarity with chemical substances used in large or small scale production?
yeah,
Is that it?
something like that.
Yeah.
And rather than please describe, it is do you have, right?
Yeah. Do you have familiarity?
Should it be production of finished goods?
Nah,
Even if
Or
you're
is that
making
too
it
confusing?
immediate.
this
Oh,
is just
sorry.
confuse people.
Yeah, okay.
About unfinished goods.
Oh, yeah, because some people do sell unfinished product.
Yeah,
So-
no, I mean,
I
parts,
don't
yeah.
Like, we make epoxy in two parts, right, part A, part B. So technically it isn't finished until you mix them together
Right.
on site.
Yeah.
But
so-
we're still making stuff, and even if we go over the limits for the raw materials in that, we're definitely in program, so that, I guess that's a really wacky example.
No, yeah, but still. How would that change? Would that change how we're wording this right now?
Where are we at?
Okay, I have an idea. Number 5, since it's if we're gonna no longer have specific questions, what if we said, please describe your experience advocating for the public's right to know, and then and then just say, including other other experiences implementing public policy regulations, because they're kind of the same question. So maybe sticking 3 and 5 together and not having it be specific to advocates.
No, I think we
No.
should have a question that sticks and says, do you have any knowledge of advocating for public health, or environmental health of some sort? I think that,
Oh, I'm not saying get rid of it, I'm saying just stick it in.
oh, stick it in another question?
Yeah, just put it at the end of number 5.
Oh, at
Yeah.
the end of number, which one?
Number 5, so it says, please describe your experience advocating for the public's right to know,
Uh-huh.
and
And describe your experience and
describe your
information.
experience, basically saying, because nobody has experience advocating
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
public's right to
yeah.
know, except for us, right? So it gives people who don't have that, which is everyone, an opportunity to then discuss the other things that they've done.
I'm into that.
Okay.
I think that's a very sensible merger.
So here's what I have then. It says, please describe your experience advocating for the public's right to know and describe any experience in the formation of or implementation of public policy and regulations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that one is for everybody, not just
Yeah.
for,
Mhm.
And then the addition of, did you get the addition of, are you comfortable facilitating meetings for,
that one I still need.
yeah, okay. So that seems like that's applicable to everyone, but
That's what you
specifically
can put on screen,
relevant to
the
rural.
the revised
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, I'll put that up in just one moment.
Excellent, thank you.
439.
440.
So that last one, are you comfortable how did you word that? Be facilitating meetings?
Yeah, are you comfortable facilitating meetings or learning how to facilitate meetings? Do you have experience facilitating meetings? I mean, yeah.
I like that more comfortable. Do you experience facilitating?
while he's typing that, you know, I don't think we have a good description of what the neutral position does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I know I should be able to write something up, but I'm not sure if I could at the moment, so you guys have thoughts?
I think you hit the nail on the head with facilitating meetings
Yeah.
regularly. I think we've come to rely on you for that quite a bit.
Well,
But it seemed, you know, when I got here, it seemed to me, I mean, you had obviously been here for a while, but you seemed to have the savvy to keep it focused.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like there was a couple.
There was a tough time there for a while.
Yeah, it just seemed like there was a few meetings that I watched online that started to get out of control,
Yeah.
and you put it right back on track.
Well, I had to go I spoke to an ombudsman at U of O. I mean, I had to go out in the community and get help on how to do that, because I didn't know
Okay.
how to facilitate like that. Because it got pretty confrontational. Which was a really good learning experience, but, yeah. But I think part of that, I mean, we've worked really well as a board right now, but, you know, this can really get into conflicted, two groups against each other. So that's what I learned from that experience, was really how to try and make us at least get to common ground.
Conflict management.
Conflict management maybe, but I don't wanna, you know, it's hard because you really need someone in this position. But I have a unusual background also, right? So I worked with hazardous waste for a while, so I have that background and then auditing. So I don't know how we find somebody or fill this position. We don't really have a good descriptor for what the neutral position is supposed to do.
No. It's the least language in the charter.
Yeah.
It's just somebody who,
I mean, it's hard enough replacing us, obviously, we're still more short in industry. Hers is gonna be a nightmare. Sorry, it is, you can't go.
I mean, I can try and come up with a few things. Conflict management's a good one. Facilitating meetings, but also, I don't know, understanding. You kind of have both sides of this.
Keeping meetings focused, I think that was a good.
mediating
Yeah.
between viewpoints. Because.
Mediating
because-
between viewpoints, is that what
Right,
you said?
because, I guess to put it in polite terms, I mean, our job is to make sure that the process doesn't become onerous to the businesses.
Mhm.
Your job is to make sure that the process doesn't become gutless,
Mhm.
right, and useless, right? And so somewhere in there, occasionally, we're going to run into each other. And that's where neutral comes in, right, is to provide that. I suspect in the charter, the idea was, oh, you're just the tiebreaker, right, when things
Right.
That's how I
go
looked at it.
3-3.
That's how I thought too. It's had more, but I mean, tiebreaker is also one that we put in here. I did not like it when I had to be the tiebreaker.
there's also the option of, there's the aspect of a question, like we're talking about. There's also, we can, since we have listed on the website, which is very easy for me to update as far as the generic website, we can craft a little statement to
Yeah.
throw up there of what the neutral position is.
We could
It's
just
a
put it
little
more
bit-
like as like preferred skills, something like that,
Yeah.
so it doesn't scare people off.
Yeah.
But,
Well, with kind
because I
of,
didn't come in with all of these skills, these were things I
Yeah.
had to, some of these I really had to learn.
with what Mark said about, something of talking about, of having to be able to work with basically stakeholders with different priorities, potentially. Like that's what you get to do every time.
Right. Can you maintain neutrality in the presence of different opposing viewpoints?
I think it's even to be able to come to consensus no matter which position you hold.
Right, I agree with that. I think a lot of that's on us too, is being diplomatic with each other.
Yes, I definitely, in some of the language we put together for running the meetings, I was a real advocate for putting in civility,
Mhm.
that sort of. Okay. I mean, maybe I'll just put together some bullet points. It's just, I think it does, I mean, I think it would be a little bit daunting for someone, but I think it is important to see kind of where the position's supposed to sit.
Seems like there's now, we've got mission creep,
Yeah.
right? The original one was just talk about these questions. Now in order to talk about these questions, we need to
Yes.
figure out what our roles and missions are
Yeah.
in order to formulate the questions properly.
Yes.
Um,
And I think this came up specifically because when I had to answer these questions, it was pretty confusing because there was nothing to talk about what the new position was.
Mhm.
So I didn't really know what I was applying for.
Should we revisit this, or,
Here's the one concern.
yeah,
Once somebody puts in an application, these cannot be changed until the next year.
Oh, okay.
okay,
So if we need to get applicants,
got it.
this is something that has to be decided on pretty darn quickly.
Yep. Okay, let's focus on these questions.
Okay.
Was there anything that was just brought up talking about the neutral position that we should include in there? I have written conflict management, which we kind of talk about a little bit, about opposing views, facilitating meetings, which we did put in there. Mediating between viewpoints, which is similar to conflict management. Keeping meetings focused, being a tiebreaker. Working with stakeholders with different priorities. And maintaining civility. Those are kind of things that we just sort of threw out there. So I don't know if any of those things we want to add to this, or does it seem like it sort of incorporates those?
We could also, like, during the interview process, we could ask them these questions.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we feel about these questions that we just changed? Is
Yeah,
everyone okay with making them general for everybody?
Yeah.
Because I think that does
Yeah.
simplify it a lot, and I think there's nothing wrong with asking an industry person what kind of community background they have,
Yeah.
and vice versa, so I think that's great.
Are these the 7 questions that we want people to answer when they apply for a position?
That's what we're looking at,
Perfect.
Yeah.
yeah. So when they come in here, we have that other list
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
of questions,
Yeah.
which could be another discussion, but we will.
Right.
So I can't help but ask, is number 1 super necessary?
I think it's
I
really a
think
good
so.
one because it forces people to look into it.
Okay. Okay.
It's-
Okay. Because I think they're gonna learn quite a bit in here with us, so.
I think what it shows is that people have actually looked into
I
it.
see, they've actually done a little bit of
It's
research.
kind of like if you think about the cover letter when you apply for a
Oh,
job. The
the
expectation by
cover
the
letter.
employer is that you've
Okay.
researched us and you're gonna say something
Okay.
intelligent.
Okay, cool, that answers my question too.
That's where I went wrong.
Are you gonna put, can you come to every Monday meeting at this time? Like, Monday at 3:30?
You know what you're getting yourself into.
Potentially monthly meetings,
I think these are better.
My only concern is that we went from 6 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a
Um,
round robin that goes around.
But I feel like
There's-
they're easier to answer,
Yeah,
Mhm.
so there's that. But it might be good to, like, bring down the list, so.
Well, we added one because of the charter
Mhm.
mandate. Can we reorganize them a little bit?
Mhm.
Can we put number 4, for instance, under number 1?
Yeah, that seems
Mm.
important.
We get to watch you.
Here, I'll just do this. I'm just gonna flip them. It's funny. I can actually move it right now.
Great. So please explain understanding, why did you apply, and what do you hope to contribute? I think that's a good question. It's kind of open-ended, yeah. Although it's a hard one to answer. We still want to do the facilitating meetings.
I think it's
Totally.
good, yeah.
Yes, that helps some expectation, okay.
But maybe swap 3 and 4, because 3 seems like it's more important, or 4 seems like it's more important.
Okay. And then, 5, 6, 7, right to know, that's sort of the advocacy question for the chemical substances, the employee. That's just a yes or no.
That would be interesting. Has anyone ever applied for a community advocate position while working in a company that is a reporting agency?
Oh,
It theoretically is possible, and theoretically it could still make sense.
mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
an interesting question.
Okay. More thoughts, anything about those? I think these look better than what we had before.
They're easier to answer, for sure.
Hyphenate small scale. That'll take care of the other one.
Yeah. And, I think for the next meeting, I'll try and come up with just some bullet points for preferred skills for a neutral position, okay? That we can just put online. I just don't really know how to describe the position very well, but maybe I can think about them. Be a good exercise. So then, I know it's not technically on here, but, so are we okay with this? Evan, are you okay with the changes we've made?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You've been able to follow?
I have.
Okay. So we really do need to figure out how to get some applications in.
We should probably advertise somehow.
When was the last time you did a round?
Of contact,
Mhm.
I think the last mention was when I put out the reporting email, because I think it mentioned in there, but I haven't done anything since.
Maybe there's some way you can talk to them. I mean, your predecessor talked me into this. And, but I was on the phone with her constantly, and I learned a lot. But maybe when you go out and readdress this with the other facilities, that how advantageous it is. It's really, I mean, for me, it's really nice knowing what's coming, you know, and what I think would improve things, and everything that I have been involved with since I've been on this board has been great. You know, I haven't had any direct opposition to anything that's come up, and I thought everything has been good. And I don't know, I think there may be quite a few people that may look at this as being a burden. Oh God, just another thing to do after work. But really, it's not. It is advantageous for a company, because I go back and tell them what's going on.
It's also not like a huge time commitment.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
you know?
What if we went back to the idea of the open house that we talked about a long time ago? Do y'all remember that convo?
Remind me.
We had an open house with the board and with James, and at the time I think it was Joe, but still,
I
we
don't remember
could.
that one.
I think it was before you actually,
Yeah, it
but
was
we did.
Yeah.
We
For
did
me.
discuss an open house where we show up together to an event with community advocates and with
Good idea.
industry
Yeah.
folks, and
Just having
they
come-
can meet us and we
Or
can
like-
talk and
yeah.
just
How-
have that experience.
so that potential applicants can really know what's going on here, what it does, and it's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
What would the venue be for
We
that?
have,
Yeah,
Party at his
5
house.
minutes.
Huh?
Hmm?
Party at your house.
Oh.
What if,
The whole community's invited.
No, it needs to be.
it would need to be somewhere nearby this space, right?
Well,
So,
It's,
not
well,
necessary.
I don't know how it would work for you guys, but for industry, it's you would invite the company rep, the people that do the reporting, the actual reporting themselves. And so they understand why this position is important.
And Nicole, so if you put on your mean faces, yeah,
For the camera?
right, no, when during,
Oh.
in that way, like, no, you have to represent our interests as businesses, because look at these mean people, and you have to put your mean face on them.
I'm terrifying. I don't
Okay.
have to put on a mean face. It's scary already.
So you're right though, where would a venue for that be? And when would be the
Yeah.
best time to do it?
I don't know, and you know, we could do it, just to keep it even, we could do it at like like an industry conference and at like,
Huh.
at an environmental conference. We can just
Like
do
show up
both.
and table or something?
Yeah. Or I guess we could split it in two, you know, like you, me, and Evan. You know, I don't know, Andre and.
What do y'all think about that? Y'all
I mean,
wanna
I
get
think,
together?
I think that, you know, James can keep working on it, but I feel like we have to put out some feelers ourselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, so I kind of feel like, Mark, it would be great if, you know, you guys could put, and I don't know if you can, if James could even try and get a few people interested and then pass them off to you to be able to talk to you. Same with you two. I mean, we kind of we need some applications quickly.
Yeah,
Do you, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
I can put out my feelers and reach out to the Beyond Toxic crowd,
Mhm.
but I don't know how super helpful that is for filling the roles that need to be filled immediately.
Right.
So,
Right, I think the issue is that like we could get more people exactly like us, but we're already here, so.
yeah.
But we're losing
Yeah.
Evan, right? No, we're losing Crystal.
Losing.
Oh, you.
Unless
okay.
Crystal wants to apply for a
Yeah,
second
for a
term.
year.
Yeah, unless I go for a second term.
We're losing Mark.
We're losing Mark and me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, for myself, I mean, I know, they found, I was recruited through the law school, so I can reach out to them again. There's also a couple of programs at the U of O, like the sustainability, I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts of like programs? Is there there's a mediation, there's a mediation program. That would be really good at the U of O. Anyways, and then there is a board member who actually was someone who brought me in also, so I'm gonna reach out to her and see if she wants to come back.
For about 2 minutes, right?
Right, so,
And that is one thing, is that once somebody takes a year off the board, they are eligible to be on it again. The biggest challenge as far as the industry ones is finding out if, and all the names that I looked through that were on from the past, none of them show up right now in any of my contacts with any of the businesses that are currently in the program. Most of them went off prematurely.
okay.
So I don't know if that's because they potentially were leaving their companies or not.
Change position or whatever.
Yeah.
I move that we update the application questions to those displayed on the screen.
I second that motion.
Is that a, hold on,
I don't know if we have to vote on it.
we don't have.
Oh, cool.
I don't think so.
Looks good.
I think it's.
Might as
yeah.
well.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll vote on it. Okay, all in favor of approving the application questions as changed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. So, the application questions are being approved as written, for the new board members. Okay, so any other thoughts, comments? Next meeting, we're gonna add that I'm gonna bring some language for what my position does, and then, we're all gonna work. Please put together a little bit of time to try and help fill these positions.
Yes.
James can't do it alone,
Yes,
okay?
I
All right.
will, and report back by April 13th.
Okay, that's our next meeting, April
Cool.
13th, that's
Yep.
good to know. Meeting is adjourned at
Thank you.
4:59.
Yeah, a couple.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, fearless
Thank you.
facilitator.
Thanks, Evan.
Bye.
Bye, Evan.
Bye, Evan.